I know that many people automatically assume that the Washington football team is the worst team in the NFC East, and I'm saying this as a Dallas Cowboy fan, and I think you guys could agree, as far as Cowboy fans go, I'm fairly good at analyzing the entire division and trying to leave my biases out of it. But even though they're considered to be the worst team in the NFC East, I think that they actually have the brightest future ahead of them. And that's for a plethora of reasons outside of Chase Young, and I'm going to try to get to everything in this video. But before we get to that, guys, Madden 21 just came out, and they completely neglected the franchise mode. I am making a huge push to make franchise mode fun again. I'm going to do that by having these rosters that begin in 2003, and we're going to be doing a franchise simulation from 2003 all the way to current day with actual draft classes, and we usually do that on Twitch. A link to that Twitch link is in the description down below. It's a great way to sit back and talk football with me, because usually we pull about like 70 to 80 viewers, so if you ever want to come by and just talk to your boy as we're watching some simulation football, then a link to that's in the description down below. Honestly, this is just something I do to connect with my biggest supporters and biggest fans. It's not really something that I'm trying to monetize at all. I just like talking to the people that want to talk to me. Now that we got all that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? The Washington Redskins, despite all the craziness that's going on with Dan Snyder, let's just assume that they had a competent front office for a second, because that's the only thing I think is really holding this team back. I mean, you have a phenomenal bridge quarterback that could potentially win NFL Comeback Player of the Year in Alex Smith. You have a very promising wide receiver in Terry McLaurin, and yeah, I understand that's not enough to get like super excited about, but look, you also have a phenomenal pass rush that features a player that, if is healthy, he's pretty much a gem in Jonathan Allen. You have Montez Sweat, you got Ryan Kerrigan, and more recently, you have Chase Young joining that defensive line. Now, on top of that, you have Landon Collins at the safety position, you have Kendall Fuller at one of your corners, and you have Thomas Davis and John Bostic as your middle linebackers. Now, I understand the linebackers aren't something you should get really excited about, but what I'm trying to say is you have a defensive-minded head coach, and for the most part, I know this is kind of a stretch to just come out here and dub a team the next version of the Carolina Panthers, but this team reminds me a lot of those young Carolina Panther teams. You have a tremendous pass rush, you have veteran middle linebackers, you have scrappy safeties, and you have underrated cornerbacks. Now, I could be 100% wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if this team comes out and surprises all of us, because you have a nice little mix of veterans and youth. And now you actually have Dwayne Haskins in a situation where he could sit back, take a couple breaths, and really come into his own in terms of developing into a good quarterback. And history is on the side of the quarterbacks that Alex Smith mentors. And I'm hoping that Alex Smith makes a good comeback, man. Cowboy fan or not, I want to see that man do well. But I digress, because you guys clicked on this video because you probably wanted some info on Chase Young. And for the most part, we have some remarkable information on Chase Young, because not only has he been absolutely demolishing training camp, but he's had some crazy highlight-worthy moments as well. Let's start with what we're hearing from his teammates and his head coach. Ryan Kerrigan, his fellow defensive lineman, came out to say that Chase Young is as advertised for a reason. That guy put up incredible numbers at Ohio State. That's one of the things I really liked about him coming out, was that Chase wasn't just potential. He had numbers to back it up. It wasn't like, oh, this guy is big and fast, he's probably going to be a pass rusher. It was the fact that this guy is big and fast and he has the production to back it up. So one of the players that are having a very strong training camp is former quarterback turned tight end Logan Thomas, who is having a great training camp. Apparently he's built a nice little rapport with Dwayne Haskins, and Chase Young posts this picture of him absolutely leveling Logan Thomas. I know it's not the greatest look for Logan Thomas, but still, I think this is more of a compliment to how incredible Chase Young is, because Logan Thomas is a huge human being as well. And then more recently, the Washington football team posted this video that, if you ask me, I personally think was kind of blown out of proportion. It's a video of Chase Young making a goal line stand against Adrian Peterson and denying him an entry point and a touchdown into the end zone. And yeah, it is really, on paper, it sounds really good, but you have to remember Adrian Peterson's 35 years old. He's not someone that you could just throw around like a rag doll, but obviously, physically, Chase Young definitely has an advantage on Adrian Peterson. When asked about Chase Young's potential, Jack Del Rio, the Washington defensive coordinator and potential interim head coach, assuming if Ron Rivera has to miss some time, which hopefully he doesn't, said it's not so much what you hear, because everyone can talk it. It's the look in his eyes. It's the way he conducts himself on the field and his interaction with other coaches and with other players. It's on point, it's serious, it's focused, like a man on a mission. He's intent on playing really good football and earning his way. For those of you guys that weren't 100% following along with what Chase Young's going through, he literally started practicing mainly this week, because last week he had a sore hip, so he had to take a couple games off. He just recently worked his way back into the rotation and into the lineup. He took reps last week in 11-11 goal line work, and after that, he took 3 reps versus the first team offensive lineup. One of the best moments he had was very underrated. He was able to bat down a Kyle Allen pass in his face, which is something that we see a lot of promising young linemen do coming out of college. I remember seeing JJ Watt do the very same thing early on in his career, earning him the nickname JJ SWAT. But for the most part, it seems like Chase Young is fully healthy. Ron Rivera eased him back into the practice, saying that you don't want to overwork him or wear him down. And then the next thing you know, he's going to miss 4 or 5 days. So we're just trying to be smart about that. Bear in mind, Chase Young also finished his last season at Ohio State with 16.5 sacks and 21 tackles for a loss. And I honestly am starting to see more and more of the Julius Peppers comparisons that he was drawing coming out of college, because a player that is able to deflect a pass in front of a quarterback's face, a player that's able to make these goal line stands, and a player that is having no problem knocking out other tight ends. These are freaking huge human beings, is definitely a good comparison for Julius Peppers. He's the perfect combination of fast to strong and powerful, and I'm really excited to see Chase Young go up against the Dallas Cowboys, because I think the Washington Redskins and the Dallas Cowboys are literally both an extreme. You have an elite offensive line and an elite offense going up against an elite pass rush. And as a Cowboy fan, I wouldn't be surprised if the Washington Redskins were able to eke out some wins against the Cowboys this year. Now, I don't think they're a playoff-worthy team, but I could see them eking out like 6 to 8 wins. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think is going to happen with the Washington football team? I apologize if I called them the Redskins, man. This is still an adjustment period for me. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.